I'm Claire and welcome to my video presentation on the topic of digital and social media marketing in business education and the implications for the marketing curriculum in Scotland. This presentation will provide some background information to set the scene before moving on to analysis of the frameworks that are relevant to this discussion, examining the marketing landscape of marketing education and the types of jobs you would expect to find in Scotland and beyond. Then we will move on to examining the evidence gathered from online resources where I have focused on academic journals and case studies as the basis of the research for this presentation. As I present each argument, I will be offering some critical analysis in each, before lastly offering my conclusions and recommendations. So first of all, I feel it's important to mention that I'm examining Scotland in isolation, but Scotland does not sit in isolation and welcomes approximately over 20,000 EU students alone, and these numbers grow again when you add in those who come to study from outside the EU at over 29,000 students. So that's quite a challenge to educate students from different backgrounds and cultures. It would be impossible to cover all the different education systems in the world in this short presentation, although if you would like to enlighten yourself a little as to how things can vary, this article will help you explore this. So, as we're focusing on the curriculum in Scotland, let's first examine that. A learner will start in early years at nursery and will progress through primary schools and into secondary school, the latter stages of which are referred to as the senior phase, where work placements should be introduced and then further study. This journey is outlined by the Curriculum for Excellence, which focuses on growing confident individuals who are active and respected, effective contributors who are included and responsible citizens who are healthy and safe, and lastly, successful learners who are achieving and nurtured. Scotland has several frameworks and strategies, which becomes a confusing array for most people, including educators. There are simply too many to list in this presentation, but one which I thought was notable of a mention was the digital strategy for Scotland, the purpose of which is to create a successful country with opportunities for all of Scotland to flourish through increasing sustainable economic growth. A very bold purpose, but if you want to have a read at that, the link is provided. So returning to our Scottish students' journey in primary and secondary school, pupils are taught a core curriculum, which is a mix of subjects. The relevant choices come at the secondary stage, and they're made up of core subjects without specialisms. For example, they could just be studying business, which wouldn't necessarily include marketing, or just drama, which wouldn't necessarily include stage management. Pupils work towards achieving a set of subjects at particular grades, and then with those grades they try to gain sufficient marks to equate to the entry requirements to get into a course at college or university, if that's the path they choose from school. It won't be the path that all pupils will choose, and some will go into employment or apprenticeships, for example. Of course, grades are only half the story of the skills that pupils need to progress in any path, and extracurricular activities such as work placements or voluntary work can supplement and grow skills. In Scotland, agencies such as Young Enterprise Scotland and Skills Development Scotland work with pupils to build on skills, although the application of this varies from school to school and region to region, as I found out when I was researching my undergraduate dissertation that examined preparing pupils for the world of work. So, Improving Scottish Education was a report that was published by Her Majesty's Inspectorate of Education in March 2006, and this report highlighted the need to build on the strengths in Scottish education to meet the needs of learners for the challenges of a rapidly changing global society and broaden their range of achievements. An analysis of business education in particular found areas that could be improved upon. For example, getting students to fully engage and be creative in their learning, to work purposely and at a brisk pace, and to meet appropriate challenges, as these were not consistent across schools. A particular need was placed on encouraging young people to think creatively and independently and to engage confidently in debate and discussion. The report also highlighted that education could feed into themes such as enterprise, citizenship and sustainable development. And these were obviously elements that are relating to the Curriculum for Excellence. So successful learners would be highlighted by ones that had achieved appropriate skill levels at each stage, and they had got the prior entry to the next stage. They can justify and explain key ideas and concepts orally, can make reasoned evaluations and justify opinions based on carefully researched evidence. They can work collaboratively to solve problems concerning social and business challenges, and they can access and successfully interpret a range of statistical data using ICT where appropriate. Teachers were told that they should relate lessons to real life to demonstrate how skills can be applied in a range of personal, social and vocational settings. And this obviously had to link into business and enterprise activities. There was also a long list of teacher expectations included in the report, which included things such as classroom management, lesson planning and using pupil-friendly language. So the report was asking to look at primary education and the first 2 years in high school. Business education was looking to understand current financial, political and economic issues, but really much more would be needed to fulfil a role in the social and digital marketing sector. One paper examined knowledge of the Scottish qualifications framework and proposed that the framework was more a bolt-on to existing quality mechanisms. The framework attempted to rationalise levels that people would study on, but had not reached all of the survey group for that study, and a lot of the study, the participants were not familiar with the framework. It only clarified entry and exit points and the routes for progression. So does that then stifle the creativity if you're just creating a new course to hang onto that framework? And what does it mean for general education? And what does that really mean for digital and social media marketing if you consider that things are moving? Now to consider some definitions. So digital marketing is the promotion of products or brands via one or more forms of electronic media. For example, advertising mediums that might be used as part of a digital marketing strategy of a business could include promotional efforts made via the internet, social media, mobile phones, electronic billboards, as well as via digital, television and radio channels. Social media marketing, SMM, refers to techniques that target social networks and applications to spread brand awareness or promote particular products. Social media marketing campaigns usually centre around establishing a social media presence on major platforms, for example, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. When we consider the curriculum and what to teach, this presentation could take different routes, but I will focus on what is offered at university level and examine how graduates will be prepared in terms of readiness for employment after their degree. So let's consider the courses that are offered undergraduate. So Robert Gordon offers Management with Marketing Honours. University of Dundee offers Business Economics with Marketing, Business Economics with Marketing and European Studies, and Business Economics with Marketing and Politics. So they're getting in a range of subjects there that they are mixing it with. They also offer Marketing and Psychology, which is really relevant considering that a lot of the marketing concepts use psychology concepts and how they get people in. And they also offer courses where they combine it with things such as history, maths, geography, French and German, so incorporating an international aspect into that as well. Glasgow Caledonian University, they offer international marketing. University of Edinburgh offers it business with marketing. Queen Margaret University combine public relations with marketing and events. So really they're all building on this idea of dual majors. They're not just having the one subject, although some of them do. University of Strathclyde, they combine marketing with French, economics, finance, human resources and psychology again. So again, getting in a broad mix, and they've got one of the more kind of lengthy kind of portfolios of courses if you were looking to go there and study marketing, so quite a range, and they really do vary. You'll see that some of them, they only have one or two courses, and others, they have lots. They've got lots and lots of choice, which is probably very confusing for students, because then they're thinking, should I pick up a language? Should I be picking up something with tourism? Should I be looking at psychology? Should I be looking at fashion marketing, as that's offered at Heriot Watt? And it really starts to get quite confusing for people, and they might not necessarily know what to pick because everything seems very similar. So it really it presents a different landscape. There's some that are doing lots of courses and there's some that are doing not as many. When you start to move on to the postgraduate courses, the actual choices again, those are few and far between. There are very few courses in Scotland for postgraduate study, and they don't tend to combine these other elements that we see in the undergraduate courses, such as with the languages and the psychology. That's just not there. So it's more of a clear choice as to whether you're going to do digital marketing or to whether you're going to do some other type of marketing. There's really no variation within that. So let's consider what you might do after you've done your studies. So you might go into work as a digital marketer, media planner, SEO specialist, or you might want to do market research or be a marketing executive. If we use the example of digital marketeer, you've got key skills such as social media marketing, SEO, PPC campaigns and mobile marketing, with a long list of responsibilities and the expectation of a 37 to 40 hour working week, which is much higher than the kind of typical week for a student. There's also a range of postgraduate qualifications listed on there, so experience that you can get once you've already got your qualifications to top up. For example, if you studied something where you didn't get the certification, you might want to do that. And it really is apparent that there's more than one route that you can go through to get on the same job. It's possible to progress with several smaller qualifications that you can be studied as you work, And is that really a better way of studying, or is it constant revision? Because the changes in the environment are fairly quick, so you don't want to go through your degree and then realise that as soon as it's been validated, it's actually out of date. So now moving on to look at marketisation and marketing issues. The marketisation of higher education is actually seen by the paper that I researched as an evil practice, which damages education. Economic theory implies that no one other than the buyer and the seller decides on the nature of the product or service by negotiating the price. Seller decides what they want to sell and how they want to sell it, relying on skills, resources and customer demand. If this principle was embraced fully in the HE environment, the student and customer, they could buy any degree as long as they had enough money to pay for it. The student would determine the style of the teaching and the level of the academic quality. HE though has large governmental control, movement is observed towards a market culture, but the autonomy and freedom to act is just not there, because HE is still considered a public good and represents a significant contribution to the economy. HE is complicated by its public nature, and really if you're thinking about it, if students are going to study and earn higher salaries, then maybe they should pay for that. As it stands, the universities, the main product that they're producing is students with degrees. The problem though that the paper highlighted was that the main issue is developing a deep and critical understanding, which is an aim of many degree programmes, but it's not always the aim that satisfies the student or the job market. Students are the raw material and graduates are the products. Our masters last 1 year shorter than EU programmes, so the Scottish universities tend to attract more international students for that reason, and the number of public universities has grown exponentially in the last 3 decades, which ranged from old restyle universities to what's termed the post-2004 universities. The number of students has quadrupled between 1970 and 2012 as reported by HISA, and the number of international students is rising year on year. Students can be segmented into home, international and mature, and there's different motivations, expectations and cultures, and that really creates quite a different landscape to teach upon. When considering the quality of a university, students tend to take that from recommendations from friends and family. They look at the National Student Survey, which provides key measurements to inform students, and they look at the institutional performance indicators. There is a blog called, it's a US blog, it's called Rate My Professor, and that's just been launched in the UK, which lets students basically essentially rate their teachers, and it's really this idea of, is that the right thing to do? So when we consider reaching out to the community, it's seen as one way to achieve service learning. Academic learning and community-based activities enhance social responsibility, which again relates back to that curriculum excellence, placing emphasis on students to complete 10 to 20 hours of voluntary activity. And this is one way really to embed real-world learning and benefit the local community. But the students said that they actually didn't prefer it, they would rather have a case study or an internship. And the question would really be, well, why is that? The students said it was just too many hours, and they felt that the typical week was too long, even though those hours probably equated to more of what they would find on a job description. And they felt that the university was just pushing them too far. So the paper explored community-based learning as opposed to service-based learning, and it turned the focus to actually getting the students to help communities and non-profit organisations, making the tasks specific, making it like marketing tasks, and removing the compulsory hours. So research suggests that there is a benefit in doing it little and often, which is good for curriculum design as it means it's smaller changes to implement. The closer students get to graduating, the more sceptical they are of the activity, so introducing it earlier in the curriculum is the best option rather than waiting until later. So the benefits really are there for all levels to experience. The students expect an engaging experience, learning through collaboration, exploration and interaction in a way that is relevant, active and immediate to them. Now, many institutions use e-learning, but what is needed is a shift to blended learning. The key drivers for change to blended learning are changing digital landscape. We live in a technology-rich environment. It's no longer good enough to just say, well, we'll use technology. If it enhances what we're doing, it actually does have to enhance it. You have to be aware of the landscape and use this century's tools. Technology is now embedded into our lives, therefore it will become part of the way that we learn. It's expected. Stakeholders, the students, they expect it, they want everything online now, they want it on the move, they're all very technologically savvy, well the ones that have grown up with it. When you consider looking at mature students or students from a different cultural background, that might be an issue. We are now at the stage where students can be in a space learning, but they don't actually have to be. We can use technology to reach into emerging markets, and we can make education more accessible for the people that can't get to it, so reducing the barriers. We could, in theory, have international students without them ever actually leaving home, and all that we would have to do was ensure that the quality enhancement and that a good student experience was met. There's a lot of research carried out on the flipped classroom experience, and is this really similar to what an apprentice experiences when they work and learn? For example, it's using the most recent tools. You wouldn't give someone who was learning stonemasonry really bad stone to use, so why should you give a digital student really poor digital technologies? You should give them the best that you can. Institutions have been considering blended learning for quite a while, but it's still one that it faces a lot of challenges, and teachers can be hesitant to go in and use it. The idea is that teachers should be the facilitators for the learning, and they really just provide the scaffolding, as it were, for the learning to be held on to. A study of students studying internships in Ontario, Canada, combined previous research findings to show that internships were also an effective way to bridge classroom learning and professional practice, which really impacted upon the career exploration and preparation, and it enhanced the understanding of their personal characteristics, and it gave them challenges to transfer their learning. However, there are obviously problems with that, with admin, insufficient funding and legal challenges, so it can be difficult to implement and get internships as part of a programme. When we look towards critical thinking for business school graduates, it's one of the things that's demanded by employers. So problem solving and working have been highlighted as the most required skills. They say that the graduates, they lack work ethic, communication skills and analytical skills, and creativity is also highlighted as being lacking. Critical thinking takes its roots from philosophy and psychology with a strand in education, and it's seen as different approaches, so depending on which way you look at it. By the time you get to education, it's a compression approach, working from the bottom to the top, with top being considered the critical thinking. And critical thinking has been gaining momentum in the marketing classroom since the 90s. Critical reflection is also encouraged for the marketing curriculum, but it's not something that we currently have just now. 2 studies of higher education in Scotland and the UK highlighted some key findings: that employers expect graduates to have critical thinking and problem solving skills, and that courses do not meet the employer's needs, and the requests for course design are often ignored. So higher education is trying to fill the gaps in employability and kind of promote that to students. There needs to be a strong partnership between HE institutions and employers, with employability at the centre of the higher education planning. Business schools do use internships and work-based learning more so than other schools such as social sciences, but the career services could have more resources and a stronger voice with faculty and departments to plan and implement employability activities. And when attempting to measure critical thinking, there was a great disparity in the perceptions of what critical thinking is and how it is taught and measured. Business schools, therefore, it concluded, needed a standard for teaching, measuring and assessing critical thinking skills in business. And the way to do this is to ask employers to evaluate and critique the work that has been produced to see if it's of industry standard. Now, debate rages as to the use of evaluating the teaching, with research implying that lecturers and the lecturers with the course with the highest grades and lowest workloads attract the best marks from students. And this really is something that sits for development, because the feedback is used by lecturers and managerial staff and within the institutional hierarchy. So the hierarchy are trying to basically avoid extra workload to be seen, so that they're seen favourably by students, so that they don't damage their reputations. And this is really marketisation coming into the university, because nobody wants to damage their business reputation by bad reviews. Since universities have opted for online surveys, there's been a decline in response rates for actually students replying and rating the teachers. I need to examine the non-completers, which is now possible to do through online recording and tracking, which you can take because of a more blended learning approach. So you can see why it is that these people are not replying, and actually try and track trends as to why they're not prepared to give feedback. But of course it does seem like everything's a bit of a big brother approach now to tracking, so it may well be that people are avoiding it just purely for that reason.